welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're really zeroing in on a huge topic in sociology, the Marxist perspective.
Absolutely fundamental.
Yeah, and if you're navigating your sociology studies, maybe think of this as a bit of a cheat sheet.
A shortcut, definitely.
We want to help you get a solid handle on the core ideas, the main arguments, and also, the different variations within Marxism.
Because it's not monolithic.
Exactly. We've got a summary of Marxist conflict theory here, and our mission really is just to pull out those essential bits.
Lay it all out clearly.
Right. So where do we start? The absolute core.
Well, for sociology students, the main thing to grasp is that Marxism sees society through the lens of conflict.
Conflict driven by economics.
Primarily, yes. It all comes down to this relationship, this tension between two main classes.
Okay, so you've got the bourgeoisie.
Right. The ones who own the means of production, factories, land, capital.
And then the proletariat.
The workers. They only have their labor to sell.
And they sell it to the bourgeoisie.
Exactly. And in doing so, they create more value than they're actually paid for in wages.
Ah, okay, that's the surplus value ideal.
That's the surplus value. And for Marx, that's the root of exploitation in capitalism.
So this isn't just about different jobs. It's an inherently unequal relationship.
Deeply unequal. But it's not just maintained by economic power alone.
Right, there's the whole ideology aspect.
Yes, ideology. The dominant ideas in society spread through institutions like, say, the media, schools, religion.
These ideas tend to support the status quo.
Yeah.
Make the system seem natural or fair.
Precisely. They mask the underlying exploitation. Marx called this false consciousness.
False consciousness.
Yeah.
So the working class might not even realize they're being exploited.
Or they accept it as just the way things are. Althusser, a later Marxist thinker, built on this.
Ah, with the state apparatuses.
Exactly. He talked about the repressive state apparatus, or RSA.
That's the obvious stuff. Police, army, courts, using force or the threat of it.
Right, but then there's the ideological state apparatus, the ISA. Much more subtle. That's your schools, family, media, religion. Shaping beliefs and values, winning consent,
Okay, so the system controls through both force and ideas.
Yeah. Now, Marx himself, he predicted that this inherent conflict, these contradictions within capitalism,
Would eventually lead to.
revolution. The proletariat would overthrow the bourgeoisie.
And then what?
A transitional phase, the dictatorship of the proletariat, leading ultimately to communism.
A classless society. No private ownership of production, no exploitation. That was the end goal.
That was the classical Marxist prediction, yeah.
But, as you said, Marxism isn't just one single thing. There are different schools of thought.
Definitely. It's crucial for students to see these variations.
So classical Marxism, that's Marx and Engels, emphasize economic determinism.
Heavily. The idea that the economic base, the way we produce things, determines everything else. The superstructure of politics, law, culture.
And revolution was seen as pretty much inevitable.
Because of capitalism's internal contradictions, yes. Then you get neo-Marxists like Gramsci.
Right, Gramsci. He brought in a really key concept.
Hegemony.
Hegemony. Explain that a bit.
So while classical Marxists focused on economic power and coercion, Gramsci said the ruling class also maintains control through consent.
How so?
By making their worldview seem like common sense. Their ideas become dominant, accepted, even by those disadvantaged by them.
So it's more about cultural leadership than just force?
Exactly. And Gramsci put more emphasis on human agency, what he called a voluntaristic view. People can challenge this hegemony
Through intellectual.
through organic intellectuals emerging from the working class and by contesting ideas within cultural institutions. It wasn't all predetermined.
Interesting. Okay, then there's structural Marxism, Althusser again.
Right. Althusser took a different path. He kind of rejected both that strong economic determinism and Gramsci's focus on human agency, or humanism.
So what did he focus on?
Structures.
Yep.
He saw society as having these three interconnected levels: economic, political, and ideological. And change, for Althusser, happens because of contradictions between these structural levels, not necessarily because individuals decide to make it happen. It's structural determinism.
So less about conscious struggle, more about how the system's parts clash.
In a nutshell, yeah. It's a more abstract, theoretical approach.
Okay, we've got the core, the variations. What about the impact and, well, the criticisms? What should students take away?
Well, the big strength, undoubtedly, is its powerful critique of inequality. It really forces you to look at the economic basis of social life and power.
And its influence is undeniable, right? In sociology of education.
Absolutely. Bowles and Gintis, the correspondence principle, how school mirrors the workplace. Also, critical analyses of media ownership and bias owe a lot to Marxist ideas.
But it's not without critics.
Oh, definitely not. Common criticisms include, perhaps, an overemphasis on class conflict above other forms of inequality, like gender or race.
And the big one, the predicted revolutions in advanced capitalist countries, didn't really happen on a wide scale.
Right. And some argue it underplays individual agency, especially in the more deterministic versions.
So, wrapping this up for sociology students, why is it so vital to grapple with Marxism?
Because it's foundational. So many sociological debates, especially around conflict, power, inequality, social change, they engage with or react against Marxist ideas.
You can't really understand the field without understanding this perspective.
Pretty much. Its concepts are still powerful tools for analysis, even if you don't agree with the whole package.
Okay, so the key takeaway. Marxism offers this critical lens on society, focusing on conflict, power, economics, with different strands offering different views on how change happens.
Exactly. And maybe final thought for you as students to mull over.
Go on.
How could you apply these core Marxist concepts, things like ideology, hegemony, maybe even surplus value in a broader sense to understand contemporary issues?
Beyond just traditional class conflict.
Yeah. Think about things like, say, environmental struggles, data ownership, digital inequality. Can a Marxist-inspired analysis offer insights there? Something to consider.